Ready.
Live.
The COVID-19 pandemic and the national response towards it, along with that, the recent super cyclone Amphan has created devastating condition in Odisha and West Bengal. Surendranath College, with its 136 years legacy carried forward from Sir Surendranath Banerjee, is worried equally along with the nation. With this backdrop, IQAC of Surendranath College, in collaboration with the four departments, Physiology, Psychology, Economics and Sociology, will be addressing the challenges in a series of webinars, Ride the Tide of COVID with a ray of hope, from 15th to 18th of this month. The webinars will surely address the various issues faced during this period. Looking for your active participation. Together, we will definitely overcome the situation and challenges. See you soon in the webinar platform. The COVID-19 pandemic and the national response towards it, along with that, the recent super cyclone Amphan has created devastating condition in Odisha and West Bengal. Surendranath College, with its 136 years legacy carried forward from Sir Surendranath Banerjee, is worried equally along with the nation. With this backdrop, IQAC of Surendranath College, in collaboration with the four departments, Physiology, Psychology, Economics and Sociology, will be addressing the challenges in a series of webinars, Ride the Tide of COVID with a ray of hope, from 15th to 18th of this month. The webinars will surely address the various issues faced during this period. Looking for your active participation. Together, we will definitely overcome the situation and challenges. See you soon in the webinar platform. COVID-19 pandemic and the national response towards it, along with that, the recent super cyclone Amphan has created devastating condition in Odisha and West Bengal. Surendranath College, with its 136 years legacy carried forward from Sir Surendranath Banerjee, is worried equally along with the nation. With this backdrop, IQAC of Surendranath College, in collaboration with the four departments, Physiology, Psychology, Economics and Sociology, will be addressing the challenges in a series of webinars, Ride the Tide of COVID with a Ray of Hope, from 15th to 18th of this month. The webinars will surely address the various issues faced during this period. Looking for your active participation. Together we will definitely overcome the situation and challenges. See you soon in the webinar platform. The COVID-19 pandemic and the national response towards it, along with that, the recent super cyclone Amphan has created devastating condition in Odisha and West Bengal. Surendranath College, with its 136 years legacy carried forward from Sir Surendranath Banerjee, is worried equally along with the nation. With this backdrop, IQAC of Surendranath College, in collaboration with the four departments, Physiology, Psychology, Economics and Sociology, will be addressing the challenges in a series of webinars, Ride the Tide of COVID with a Ray of Hope, from 15th to 18th of this month. The webinars will surely address the various issues faced during this period. Looking for your active participation. Together we will definitely overcome the situation and challenges.
will start in 2 minutes. A very good evening to all. Amidst the scare of coronavirus, we at Surendranath College thought to spread little positivity by organizing the webinar series Ride the Tide of COVID with a Ray of Hope. I, Aditi Shorboggo, welcome you all to the third webinar of the series. Now, I would request our principal, Dr. Indranil Kaur, to deliver the inaugural address for the webinar. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. I extend a warm welcome to all the participants in this webinar platform. Today being the third webinar of our webinar series, the Ride the Tide of COVID with a Ray of Hope, organized by the IQAC Surendranath College in collaboration with the Department of Psychology. The unforeseen situation created by COVID pandemic, and along with that, the addition was our Amphan, which is Super Cyclone Amphan, which created a lot of, or posed a lot of challenges for us. The challenges faced by each and every one of us, both mentally, psychologically, financially, and otherwise. So we, in this platform, wanted to address the various issues, various questions, various challenges raised by this pandemic. So today on this webinar series, we have Dr. Manisha Dasgupta, Associate Professor, Department of Psychology, University of Calcutta, to address or to explain to us how to face the challenges, psychological challenges on today's date. I would request Dr. Sujata Shaha, Head of the Department Psychology, to introduce the guest. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone, and I welcome all the participants on today's session. Even during this difficult COVID times, along with the unlock phase nationwide, Surendranath College, in association with IQAC, took a great initiative to organize a series of webinars, Ride the Tide with COVID, a Ray of Hope, where the Department of Psychology feels highly grateful to get an opportunity to conduct the webinar on the third day of the webinar series, dealing with the bio-psycho-spiritual disciplining, the key to well-being in the new normal. Today, we are glad to introduce our honorable speaker, Dr. Monisha Dasgupta, who is currently an associate professor in the Department of Psychology, University of Calcutta. She is a recipient of National Merit Scholarship, Government of India at the undergraduate level, and University Research Fellowship in the Department of Psychology, University of Calcutta for pursuing her doctoral research. She has been teaching at the university for more than 13 years. She had also worked as a co researcher and jointly edited a book with a renowned person, Professor Nilanjana Sharnal. She has to her credit a number of research articles in national and international journals. Her research interest includes personality, clinical psychology, projective psychology, and gerontology. Dr. Dasgupta is an honorary member of the Projective Fairy Tale Test Society, Athens, Greece. Apart from her membership in other national professional bodies, she is also an editorial consultant and reviewer of a number of national and international journals. Now, I would request Dr. Dasgupta to start this special and unique session of the webinar. Thank you.
Dr. Dasgupta, you need to unmute yourself.
Good evening, everybody. Respected Dr. Indranil Kaur, Principal, Surendranath College, Ms. Shujata Shaha, the current head of the Department of Psychology, all the other faculties of the Department of Psychology of the same college, the IQSC coordinator, Dr. Shuchandra Chatterjee, dear students and other participants. I consider it to be indeed a great privilege to be invited as a speaker of one of the webinars organized and conducted by your college on COVID-19. All of us are in a different set of challenging conditions since the last few months. One just cannot deny the very fact that what we had taken for granted a few months ago even has posed us the threat of erosion. The foundations of normal life are being shaken off miserably. And we are all struggling to keep some sense of control to our existence. Of course, we need to mourn the loss that we had, mourn the loss of the normal that we had earlier. We have to give some time and space for the same. But if my point is, if we remain fixated on the same, the sense of despair would increasingly engulf us and we would finally confine ourselves as prisoners. So why don't we use our biological and psychological plasticity to adjust, to adapt to the surroundings, to the changing environment? In fact, it is through such changes that our ancestors have had increased the potency of survival of the human race across evolution. It is only when we stop despising whatever comes into our way and we face it with grace, with courage, and with mindfulness, the worst gets over and new possibilities begin to emerge to live the world, to live our lives in a meaningful way. Hence, I felt the urge to title my lecture for this webinar today as Psycho-Spiritual Disciplining, the key to well-being in the new normal. Before I proceed, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to my mentor, Professor Dr. Nilanjana Sanyal, for having triggered in me the spiritual quest. Today's world has been posing a severe crisis, a deep crisis in the form of the pandemic situation. Lockdown, quarantine, and social distancing appear to be trendy terms of the day. We are all engulfed, some way or the other, with corona fear. And as such, uncertainty and unpredictability of life has come up to the forefront. Corona fear has brought about a sense of despair, mass paranoia to a great extent. We are suspicious of our neighbors. We are suspicious of people in the locality. We are suspicious of people in the marketplace of being possible carriers of the virus. There is anxiety related to rumination in relation to uncertainty and unpredictability. There is also death anxiety looming large. And all of us, one way or the other, are experiencing lockdown fatigue. However, have we ever wondered, ever thought of whether COVID-19 can be a mentor, can be a teacher for the human beings? Let us see. Let us see whether COVID-19 can offer realizations of different kinds. The first realization that can be possible from COVID-19 is that nature reigns supreme. We need to understand how human beings have to cohabit peacefully with other species. How to maintain nature connect. The second very important aspect is that life is meaningful and it has a specific purpose for all of us. We need to be grateful for it. Life also needs to be adorned by self-control, self-disciplining, and basic cleanliness of the physics as well as the mind. So one has to say a big no to impulsiveness, to all momentary gratifications in the form of greed, lust, competitiveness, cravings to have power, position, prestige of different kinds. Instead, one has to realize the nature connect, the deep connectedness of human beings with nature by developing nature-friendly attitudes. For this, one can have a look at the ill effects, at the side effects of different man-made activities like deforestation, destruction of the ties with the environment in the form of increasing pollution, increasing use of plastics, resulting in maybe a plastic island in the ocean, and so forth. Hence, one needs to be essentially in harmony with nature. In fact, the sound of nature can be regarded as one of the purest forms of art. It is not only aesthetically attractive to listen to the chirping of birds, to listening to the breeze, the sounds of the breeze, the rustling of the leaves of the trees, and so forth. Sounds of nature also help us to be aware of the environment and helps us to be curious regarding the mysteries of life. It poses answers to questions like, who are we? Why are we here? What does our existence mean actually? According to Jeff Teton of Brown University, it's listening to nature which makes us realize that we are part and parcel of its ecological ambience. Listening provides a world of connection and not of physical distance. In fact, the need is to understand this acoustic space, the common space which is shared by different vibrations of species, where none of the species do interfere each other, but they are present in the form of a symbiotic relationship. Professor David Rothenberg, who is an interspecies expert, says that each species has its own aesthetic universe. Sometimes these universes meet and they provide a magical space, a momentary space, but which is very powerful, even therapeutic. One needs to inculcate the capacity of listening to nature, listening to nature's rich layered sounds, multi-layered sounds, which helps to make humans to combat feelings of loneliness. It's sounds of nature which helps us to realize that we are part and parcel of the great world. It is this togetherness to understand which helps us to realize and to reassure us during different moments of crisis. However, if this intricate bond is disturbed anyhow by any emergencies, it would definitely disturb the biodiversity, and human beings are no exceptions to this. They would also be affected. In fact, studies reveal that nature's music, nature's sounds are changing qualitatively over the past few decades, with increasing number of birds and insect species getting endangered, facing threat of extinction, and seasons changing globally. Hence is the dire necessity to stop the change of nature's sounds, to stop this loneliness, to combat the loneliness of human beings. In different crisis situations, when nature bleeds profusely, it is of dire necessity to provide Mother Nature with support, with some kind of support to heal and recover quickly. One has to confront the crisis and should not avoid it. This COVID situation, and maybe even to some extent the Amphan situation, is just an instance of such a disequilibrium produced by man-environment interaction. So, facing COVID needs to be the mantra of the day. And this may be used as a mnemonic face where each of the different alphabets, F, A, C, E, they stand for different steps, different strategies that we may take in order to face COVID boldly. F stands for focusing on the controllable aspects of the situation. In technical language, it is referred to as controllability awareness. It relates to the fact that one has to focus on the controllable conditions only, rather than the uncontrollable aspects of any situation. There are different dimensions of controllability awareness, like personal control. Things which are within one's own control needs to take the priority. Shared control refers to those aspects which are under the jurisdiction of the interaction among individuals. Others in control, things which are not within one's own control, but are within the control of others. And finally, there is the uncontrollable or unpredictable aspect of controllability awareness also, which may not be in the consideration of today's discourse, because the other three are more important, primarily personal and shared control. The A of face, the A stands for acknowledgement of thoughts and feelings. It relates to being mindful of the present, being attentive to, and thereby it automatically brings about one of the essential dimension of mindfulness, it being acceptance, graceful acceptance of reality. There are different components of mindfulness. The first is non-judging. If we are aware of our own judgmental qualities and reactions of our inner and outer, inner and external, internal and external experiences, without blocking them, without censoring them anyhow, that refers to non-judgmental quality. Openness means openness relates to openness to experiences of different kinds, be they positive, be they desirable ones, be they undesirable ones. Letting go, for it relates to forgiving self and others. Being gentle to one's own self is also another important aspect of mindfulness. Non-striving, it prompts an individual to be non-attached to the outcome, to any kind of achievement. It helps one to realize that one has to understand, one has to enjoy the genuinity in the process rather than the achievement per se. Generosity, giving the present moment within the ambience of love as well as compassion, is generosity. Empathy relates to understanding others, that is taking the perspective of somebody else. Gratitude, it involves adopting a kind of appreciative stance, being thankful to the different moments, being thankful to nature, being thankful to the givens of life. Acceptance of different moments gracefully. Patience is yet another component. Trust is also another vital component of mindfulness, along with a sense of loving kindness. C, the alphabet C relates to coming back to one's own body, that is, being mindfully aware of bodily changes. One can even take the help of a word, a mantra, a phrase, a prayer, or even simply the breath to focus one's attention onto an object of attention. For this, we have the practice of breath meditation or pranayama. During inhalation, each cell of the body is mindfully felt by the person as the focus is on one's breath. So the body becomes receptive to absorb life energy in the form of prana. This helps the body to be at peace with no drastic movement. So to be still, this automatically helps the individual to enjoy solace, to have an arena of quietude, to have a sense of peace. Inner silence is bound to be brought about as a result of focusing on one's breath. There is automatically greater clarity and self-awareness. When one focuses on one's breath, there is inner witnessing of the mind world, that is the world of different thoughts, the world of different thoughts that may serve as distractors initially, but gradually, as one takes the focus on one's breath, there is increasing oneness of the self, increasing focusing of the self with the cosmos. So any meditative exercise is like mental cleaning. Any form of mental purification is brought about through meditative exercise. Breath meditation is one important step which works with the sensations of the body, with the feelings, with our emotions, by helping the individual to witness one's thoughts, one's feelings in a non-judgmental manner. So meditation is like a kind of mental spa which helps to rid oneself of sticky emotional baggages. Yes, sticky emotional baggages are the waste products which are present in the form of dysfunctional thoughts and dysfunctional feelings. Hence is the dire necessity to turn inward during the post-COVID days, during the lockdown days, to feel emotionally anchored, to have a sense of groundedness. E, and the next alphabet E, it stands for engagement with any activity. It helps one to relate oneself devotedly to any activity, be they leisure activities, it can be relaxation, it can help the person to engage in any kind of work or even no work meticulously. This no work condition is interesting. If we have no work condition, we also need to enjoy this condition without feeling guilty that we have wasted our time. This condition, no work condition, would serve as a buffer to provide us with a sort of mental refreshment, to be able to devote our energy wholeheartedly to different activities, work or otherwise, when we are in other situations. So believing in the here and now phenomenon, believing in the present is vital. Mindfulness meditation it's also called opening up meditative practice. It helps an individual to focus one's physical breath with great curiosity, to be able to understand the texture of the breath, even the temperature of the breath, to have a feel of other sensations in the body and otherwise. So, mindfulness allows individuals to relate more fully to experience. And observing the wandering mind can be regarded as the very first track of mindfulness practice. Now, being in the present, like if we focus on the present, there are a number of different benefits of it. Some of them are it increases one's clarity, self-awareness, it enables in having a better focus, it increases the extent of decision making on an individual's part. It also encourages a person to have better self-control, to have improved immune functioning, both physically as well as psychologically. It also helps one to reduce one's negative emotions, as I was saying earlier. The person who is practicing mindfulness or mindfulness meditation may engage in increased empathy, increased compassion, and love for all the other fellow beings. And automatically, there is better efficiency, better work efficiency on the whole. I would appeal everyone on this online podium to be also present with nature. Because I was saying in the initial part of the webinar that we need to be connected with nature. So if we become mindfully present with nature, that would facilitate a sense of calm, a sense of rest, contemplation of the individual. This can be explained by the biopsychophysical model of well-being, which helps to relate the connection between mind, body, and nature. Mindfulness enhanced nature connectedness also is a kind of, it can be practiced in the form of forest bathing. Now, this is a kind of an experiential process where an individual can feel himself stimulated by the different sensations of a forest. It can be the breeze of the rustling of the leaves of the trees, or the different sounds of maybe a nearby stream, or some other sensations. So it involves making somebody to bathe within the stimulation provided by a natural ambience like a forest. The sea, the first, so these were trying to understand the word face. Now, COVID is the other part where we have sea. The sea can be regarded to determine changes in the lifestyle of the individual, which is posed by the COVID situation. The COVID situation, and maybe even to some extent the Amphan situation, has helped us to understand what is essential and what is non-essential. There have been different changes in our lifestyle, like staying more at home, working more from home, washing hands more often, cleaning the house more often, applying social distancing, wearing protective masks outside, going to shops less, getting connected with friends and family more emotionally, maybe through the web, maybe through the internet, but not physically. Shopping online more, using less cash, canceling plans outside with families and friends, maybe avoiding certain shopping times where there are peak hours of rush. So these are some of the lifestyle changes which we have imbibed within our systems within the last few months. And probably we need to continue these lifestyle changes in the upcoming months also. The next is opening up. We also need to be aware of being kind to oneself. We need to make room for our difficult feelings. We need to acknowledge our negative feelings, our feelings of fear, emotions and disturbing feelings of sadness, guilt, loneliness, frustration, confusion, and other similar emotions and feelings. But once we realize that these feelings are momentary, the emotions, the feelings will gradually mellow down. They would mellow away and there would be space for positivity. V stands for virtual mobility. Here, I would try to stress upon the point that we have to become more and more autonomous as far as virtual reality is concerned. And this very initiative of Surendranath College of having all of us to interact, all of us to come in this online podium, online platform is even one small step to being virtual autonomous. So virtual autonomy will help us to move forward to a more and more sustainable environment in the days to come. One also needs to identify different resources to develop resilience. The resources that can be identified may be at the inter as well as the intrapersonal level. So at the interpersonal level, we can take the help of social support that are available in the form of friends, in the form of family, our neighbors, cohort groups, and the like. But at the same time, we also need to develop resilience, intrapersonal resilience, that is the resources which are intrinsic. So how can we develop such resources? We can do so by instilling a sense of hope, a sense of meaning in life. We can introspect further in our lives. We can even locate our hobbies. One can engage into leisure education and can even have a better understanding of time management, especially in the challenging times. Finally, I would say that all of us, I would say that it's very important for all of us to develop a sense of gratitude. Gratitude is a sense of reverence, a sense of appreciation, of being thankful of the present moment. It involves a state of being appreciative of blessings received. There are different components of gratitude, like a sense of warm, appreciative concern for something or somebody, a sense of goodwill, a tendency to act positively, and automatically Gratitude would serve as sanitization at the psychic level because it will not only help us to be gracious of not only being alive till date, but also to be able to have varied realizations of one's life. One can also be gracious to be even able to work from home in the current compromised situation. I would say that we ought to be gracious to be able to be connecting today in this online platform, as I said earlier. So gratitude opens oneself to see the good in one's life. Automatically, if we have this gratitude script in our lives, we would see life as a gift. It would increase our peace of mind. It would also engage in more satisfying personal relationships and physical health, greater happiness. It would reduce toxic emotions resulting from the self and social comparisons. Automatically, our platter would always be seen as full. We would not have the feeling, the hanker, a sense of deprivation, feeling of different things that we have not had in our lives, but instead we would feel blessed with whatever that is present on our platter. I would appeal everybody on this online platform to start off the day by a thankfulness offering, as in, if we can all have a mantra like, thank you, life, for giving me another day to live. Thank you for giving me work to do. I would also like to quote the Serenity Prayer, which I have learned from Professor Sanyal. God, give me the serenity to accept things that I cannot change. Give me the serenity to do the things that I can change. Give me the wisdom to see the changes. Hence, in sum, it can be realized that the unpredictability of life is the very predictable aspect of the life of all of us. So instead of crying for the deprivations, if we can feel composed and if we can understand that there is no need to control our life, but to just ride with the tide, I think that would help. I would finally like to end my lecture today with a small story which I found it to be really very lovely, a story of young children which is entitled The Fog. Its author is Theo MacLeod and its illustrator is Kennard Park. This is a story of a small bird which is called Warble, which is a small yellow bird. It's a warbler who lives on a beautiful island of icy land where he pursues his hobby of human watching. But on a warm day, a deep fog rolls in and obscures his view. The rest of the birds don't seem to notice the fog or the other changes that befall on the island. No longer do human beings visit the icy land, which now turns into a fog land. The more the fog is ignored, the more it spreads. Finally, one day, the warbler discovers a young girl who is red hooded and spectacled. So she's a juvenile who appears and becomes friend with the warbler. The warbler discovers that he is not the only one who notices the fog. They decide to send a paper boat to find others who can see the fog too. So with the sticker engraved, do you see the fog? When they sailed the boat the first time, there was no reply, but they did not lose hope. They still decided to keep on sending innumerous paper boats with the same message written. And it was finally answered by other animals who also noticed the fog. There was the walrus who first answered. There was another musk ox in Norway. And as and when they started answering, the boats returned to the girl and the warbler. And as such, with the return of each boat, the fog began to lift a little, and the wind began to blow again until the world grew a little less ghostly and it became easier to notice things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I consider it a great privilege on behalf of the Department of Psychology, Surendranath College, to thank our honorable speaker, Dr. Monisha Dasgupta, from the bottom of my heart, who has showered us with such an informative and outstanding talk about how to deal with the new normal. Today, we had an opportunity to hear about the different self disciplinary practices that seem to be pertinent to keep every individual physically and mentally sanitized to establish herd immunity during this deep crisis situation caused due to the COVID 19 pandemic. Dr. Dasgupta has also enlightened our mind and shown us how we can establish our inner serenity and feel anchored to Mother Nature. I would extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Dasgupta again, who blessed us with her presence and took time from her busiest schedule to grace this occasion. Finally, I would also like to thank the entire fraternity of this institution for trusting us, and we would feel happy to organize more such webinars in our near future. Now, moving to our interactive session, I would request one of my colleagues, come friend, Mrs. Shrabosti Dey, to proceed with this session. Thank you all again for your participation and cooperation. Over to Shrabosti. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you, Dr. Manisha Dasgupta, ma'am, for discussing very lucidly the importance of biopsycho-spiritual disciplinaries for the well-being while taking a walk towards the new normal. The chat box is flooding with many questions from our participants. Ma'am, I would like to put forward some of the questions within the allotted time limit. So now we proceed the session. The first question is, how can spiritual disciplining help in relationship with family or partners?
As I said, spiritual disciplining involves disciplining of the mind, disciplining of one's own self in terms of different practices that I talked about in my presentation. So automatically, if we, this is a kind of practice where we cleanse ourselves by bringing about sanitization at the psychic level. Automatically, if the self system gets cleansed, it would be reflected as a mirror in our interpersonal relationships. It would be reflected in all relationships, be it student teacher relationship, be it a couple relationship, be it the relationship with one's offspring. Okay, so automatically it would be more, I would say, the relationship would be crystal clear, having greater amount of a greater amount of acceptance of the self, acceptance of the other, having greater tolerance for the self and other, and naturally it would bring about a sense of patience, a sense of acceptance, graceful acceptance. There would be no expectations, or I would say, because it's, since we are human beings, it is often very difficult to curtail all expectations from individuals around. But if we practice positivity, if we practice to some extent spirituality, we would be able to curtail our expectations from our own selves, from others, and we would enjoy each and every moment. So in the relationship perspective, the relationships would be greener, they would be richer with whoever a person shares. Yes, and it would automatically be with less conflict, with less emotional conflict. This is what I feel.
Thank you, ma'am. My second question is, we have already seen stigma against COVID patient and their family. How to deal with it?
The ones who have already been affected by COVID-19, and there are two groups of individuals. The first group is the one who are affected at present, and they are trying to recover as far as themselves are concerned, as far as their caregivers, the family support is concerned. So family members are in a difficult time with the patient himself or herself. I would suggest not to give up hope, not to give up hope, to continue to bank on the positivity, to have faith on nature, to just consider this as a kind of lesson, and maybe to some extent it would also help the individuals not to feel traumatic, not to feel panic stricken by the disease, or by the after effects of the disease, the pandemic. But instead, if one can just consider each and every day to pass by peacefully, smoothly, and be grateful to life, I think that would help both the families as well as the patients to ride over the crisis. And the ones who have recovered, from the illness, they are also, I would say, they are the torch bearers of positivity. They can themselves tell the society how their experience was. I would say there would have been different kinds of experiences, but um, uh, if they can grow with their experiences and can tell the rest of the world about their experiences, uh, how they survived the crisis, how they develop mental immunity, mental sanitization, and fought with themselves, fought with the crisis. I think that would encourage many individuals who are in the society. So this is my message for people who are at present victimized. They are suffering from the pandemic situation either directly or indirectly.
Thank you so much, ma'am. As we are having a lot of students here, so my third question is how we can mentally counsel the students to overcome their academic loss in this new normal situation.
Can you please repeat the question?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. How can we mentally counsel the students to overcome their academic loss in this new normal situation?
Yeah. Yes. Many students would feel quite depressed because of the kind of loss. They are uncertain about their exams. It's very normal. It's very, very normal, and it is something which everyone looks up as far as one's career is concerned. To have a good career, to have they have different ambitions in their mind. But I would say to all the students who are struggling and who have been affected directly because of the pandemic situation in different countries, including India, that let us consider this. Can we consider this even to be a time for maybe a kind of lesson where it's a kind of hibernation, maybe? Life is teaching us to be resilient, they have their exams in their near future, but this is a bigger exam. COVID-19, and the challenges that it is posing, that it is providing to humanity is a bigger challenge. It's a bigger exam to all of us. I think if we can ride over this exam successfully by developing our mental sanity, by developing our mental sanitization, by increasing our psychic immunity, I think we would be all much more equipped to face academic examinations in future. And maybe if just in this podium, I would like to say that many years back, many years back, when I was taking up, like when I was in my college days, I even had to have a kind of medical emergency, for which I had to lose an academic period, an academic time. And as a result, I was quite depressed. I was frustrated. I had taken up another subject in another college, but who knows? suddenly, like I was at that moment, I was definitely depressed. It was, I had a difficult time to get over my physical ailment as well as my sadness, my academic, the loss that I was experiencing. But uh, the gift that I got was when after listening to the doctor, to the physician, I became healthy physically, not only physically, but I got the opportunity to study psychology in the next academic year in Bethune College. For the where Bethune had first initiated this subject for the first time. So, and it was just out of the blue. I had never ever thought of taking up psychology before, but it was just by coincidence. But then, within a few months, I found out that this is the gift that I got. This is the gift, the selection was absolutely appropriate. It was absolutely appropriate, not only for myself, but I could relate to the subject and I could understand that even though I had lost a year academically, but I got so much in return that I never ever have the repentance of losing a year. And instead, I feel blessed to be a student of psychology and to have wonderful teachers in our university, including my mentor, Professor Sanya. Thank you. So I would say all the students not to give up hope. There is always a silver lining behind at the end of the clouds. So just wait, and it's a time for uh, showing patience, to cultivate our patience, and maybe who knows, there would be better days ahead. It's bound to be there. So it's just wait for the silver linings to come up. Thank you. Yes.
Yes, definitely we shall overcome. Okay, ma'am, my next question is, how can we ensure the mental well-being of senior citizens who are already, who have already OCD symptoms in this scenario?
Uh, People who have anxiety, people who already have different mental issues like anxiety, like OCD, like other problems, okay? So they are more vulnerable. They are more vulnerable to crisis. They are more vulnerable to crisis, but uh, even now, the message from the psychological point of view can be to uh, assure them, to reassure them maybe a number of times, uh, time and again, to, to tell them that yes, this is just a phase, and this phase is lasting for a few months, maybe a few, it's quite, it's a few months, it's difficult time. We are all on the same boat. We are all on the same boat. So there is nothing to lose. Just wait. Just wait um, for for the situation to improve. And people who have obsessions, people who have repetitive behaviors like washing hands as a pathology, okay, as a pathology, they need to be reassured that this is not the time for letting their leash to get out of hand. They have to be patient. They have to accept the situation and to try to get over the crisis as much as possible. If they can try to build in faith within themselves, they would feel emotionally anchored. If they can focus on the breath or on some kind of a prayer or some kind of a mantra, maybe, or some kind of positivity message that things would improve, then automatically, instead of compulsively washing their hands or compulsively going for a number of different repetitive behaviors just to ease off their tension, just to ease off their anxiety, they would feel anchored. They would not feel restless. The restlessness will decrease and they would feel they would enjoy to be present. They would enjoy the gift of the present. They, even in the hardship, even in the challenging condition, and they would try to tide over each and every day on a momentary basis. So the enormous engulfing anxiety would minimize, and my belief, my firm conviction would be that they would also find a ray of hope to combat the crisis situation. Thank you. Anything else?
Thank you, ma'am. My last question, or you can say, want some suggestion that how we can do some mental health exercise in this daily routine.
How can
we can do some mental health exercise in daily routine?
Okay. On a day-to-day basis, we can inculcate a sense of thankfulness to whatever little things are there in favor of us. Firstly, that would instill within us the seedling of looking at life from a positive angle. So as I was saying, one of the mental exercise can be like a prayer, or it can be like a phrase which we can repeatedly utter whenever we are mindful of it. We can be mindful of different activities like bathing, while bathing, or while brushing our teeth, or while cleaning ourselves physically. We can even think, or we can imagine ourselves to be cleaning our mind as well. And automatically, there would be a sense of tranquility. There would be a sense of tranquility that would seep inside. Yes, there can be other exercises. We can even engage in some form of yoga, some form of breath meditation, some form of pranayam, some form of yoga, some form of mindfulness practices. We need not, it is not needed to be religious. I'm not talking about being religious. I'm talking of being mindful, being present at the moment. And if we can gradually inculcate these practices into our daily discipline, into our daily regimen, then automatically we would have we would shape our personalities gradually in a positive manner. And many a times, who knows, we would automatically we would be practicing positivity. We would be practicing positivity, and we would uh, have a firm conviction that whatever be the crisis, we would overcome. We would have the capability, the tenacity, the perseverance to overcome each and every obstacle. Yes. So these are some mental exercises that can be thought of to be adorned within our systems. If we forget or someday to do a particular exercise, I would say not to be critical of it, but instead also accept this lacuna within this limitation within ourselves. So if we can have a better feel of our strength points as well as our limitations, we would be able to look at life in a much more integrated manner, in a much more integrated and a holistic manner, and life would have its ripples, the positive ripples in the consequence. In the consequence, yes.
Thank you so much, ma'am. With this, the interactive session comes to an end. Thank you so much, ma'am, for providing useful tips and answers to the queries of our participants. A big round of applause and heartfelt thank you for our participants. We deeply regret that due to lack of time, we could not answer all of your queries. Once again, thank you. Now, I would like to request our IQAC coordinator, Dr. Shuchandra Chatterjee, to conclude the session by giving a final vote of thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Sravusti. Actually, nothing remains to say after such an informative session. But a very good evening to all our esteemed speaker, valued viewers, hardworking organizing committee members, worthy faculty, and my most beloved students who are virtually present here for the third webinar of our 4-day webinar series, Ride the Tide of COVID with a Ray of Hope. You know, as our honorable speaker has also pointed out today, the essence of all beautiful art is gratitude, and no duty is more urgent than that of returning thanks. So I feel myself really privileged to get this golden opportunity of delivering vote of thanks in these webinars. On behalf of Surendranath College IQAC, my first and foremost duty is to express my sincerest gratitude to our honorable speaker, Dr. Monisha Dasgupta, who has literally graced us with her insights and thought-provoking address, sparing her most valuable time. Thank you, madam, for your crisp and eloquent speech. Your content today will definitely be echoed in our minds for a long time and help us adapt to the new normal. My heartfelt gratitude to the college authority, the governing body, for their constant motivation and support. I would really love to thank our beloved principal, Dr. Indru Nilkar, for his enthusiastic support during the entire venture. He has truly been an inspiration to all of us. My sincere thanks are due to all my colleagues, both teaching and non-teaching, who always stand by us, cooperate, and motivate. I am immensely thankful to all the faculty members of Department of Psychology for their continuous effort to make this webinar successful. Thanks a lot. I must mention my deepest sense of appreciation, for I would like to take this opportunity to place on record my hearty thanks to all the dedicated members of Seminar Workshop Committee for their tireless effort and tremendous work. Dear members, without your diligence, tenacity, hard work, sleepless late nights and early mornings, this event would not have been possible. I cannot thank every one of you enough for your involvement and dedication even in this lockdown period. Last but not the least, I thank our beloved students for showing great interest in these webinar series and attending it enthusiastically. Dear students, your spontaneous presence, no doubt, has made today's program a real success. Once again, thanking you all assembled here virtually in this platform, I conclude with a high hope, as prescribed by Madam Dashgupta today. So let's hope for better, more beautiful days ahead after COVID. Just keep pressing on. All stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.
With the vote of thanks, this marks the end of the webinar, today's webinar. But before you leave the meeting room, two announcements and one notice. We had 500 participants in Zoom today and more than 200 participants in YouTube. Thank you, ma'am. You were heard by 700 people live. So it's a great achievement, I think, for Surendranath College. And tomorrow, and the participants, please fill the feedback form by today, 11:30 p.m. Positively. Otherwise, you won't be getting the certificates. The feedback forms are there in your registered mail, and the link will be active right after the seminar. And tomorrow we have the last webinar of a webinar series to be organized by Department of Sociology. So see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Thank you. Bye-bye.